got 4 people on this evening, so we will kick it off here momentarily. Should probably put my computer to sleep over here. Oh, well, it'll do its own thing. Oh, I should probably kick over to my chat. Oh, I feel rusty again. Hey, Pamela. Oh, looking forward to this evening. Well, hopefully it's good. I thought I had an idea, and then I don't quite know where I was going to go with it, but I think I do now, right? Better. Hopefully everybody is having a good time so far here recently. Oh, got some exciting stuff coming up, I think. Some new announcements, hopefully, that everybody will love to partake in. So there's 5 people here. So I know Pamela is here. So who's the other 4? I don't even know where you guys are coming in from tonight. Let's look. Mostly Facebook. Hey, Paul, I figured you'd be here, but I never, as people say, never assume anything. Hello, Chris. How are you as always? So good. Glad to see everyone is on. And like I said, I got some fun stuff hopefully for 2024. I don't know. It's a little early to talk about that, I feel like, but it's not. So it is what it is. But I don't have any fancy slideshow tonight. I'm kind of exhausted. I worked a 16-hour shift earlier this week and had 5 hours of sleep and then went back for 8 hours. So, and the week before I did 12. So yeah, I'm kind of pooped. So hopefully I am not like a rambling idiot this evening. So I tried to take a nap today, which worked for about a half hour. So, but well, you know what? We can always get started here. So, see if some more people. Oh, hey, Corey. There is a fly in here. Sorry. How are you, Corey? It's good to hear from you as always. So, yes. So I was kind of thinking, I don't know, with my whole book project and over the last, I don't know, year and a half or two, I was thinking, I had to think about past stuff, like, they wanted to know, like, why I became a photographer kind of thing, how I kind of did it, all that good stuff. So it started making me thinking about things. And then I got to thinking about, well, I always say photography is a journey, right? And I think what kind of tweaked my interest was I just was listening to some YouTube videos in the background while I redesigned the website. And I was going through a bunch of stuff, and this guy was talking about, the creative journey and yak, blah, 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 right? And he talks about how it's an infinite journey. And I was like, huh? So I kind of like stopped what I was doing and went over to the other browser tab and kind of watched it for a second. And he was talking about how it's from the time you pick up the camera to the time you decide to put it down forever, it's a journey, right? And it's kind of an infinite journey because there's always something to be doing, something to be learning. I'm going to tap my screen here, sorry. My stupid camera, I feel like, is now focusing where it needs to be. Oh, well. But it's an infinite journey, right? I shouldn't be using words like that on this much sleep, but it is. It's an infinite, I'm going to have to stop saying that, journey where I think if you see it differently, you probably shouldn't, because there is no one time where I would say you're going to get to a point and you're going to be done. Maybe done taking photos per se, for whatever reason that may be. But you're not going to be done learning, or you shouldn't be done learning. And there's so many things that you just keep kind of going. So then I kind of got thinking about it. So over the years of teaching and then being at Photo Pro and all this stuff, so on and so forth, it got me thinking about, well, there's all these little steps, or you could say little like phases, right? They're like stepping stones. They're really, you hop from one to another. And the first one, I think, is I've talked about this before, where we rush too much stuff. Like we buy a camera and we got to get this going, and we got to be here at a certain time frame, and then from this stepping stone to the next one in a certain time frame. And when that happens, we skip over things. We don't do things wholeheartedly 120% to get a good basic understanding, because all we're doing is we have where we're currently at the beginning and our end goal, right? Our end goal of whatever it may be. I don't know. And there's all these little things in between it. And a lot of people will act like, if you're from here to here, I should have had a bigger notebook, right? Those two little dots, you probably can't see them. That we expect it to be like this. It's a straight line, right? Well, it really doesn't work that way. I mean, if you think about it, it ends up being kind of like something like this. And it's all these stepping stones, right? That is the journey. I didn't want to focus, right? It's a squiggly line. It does not go straight. It does not go anywhere but there. To the trash can it goes. Right? So we think it's this like straight line where we just zip on down and we get there, but we don't. And when we do that too fast, we, like I said, don't get anywhere. And then there's all these little stepping stones right in between. And I got thinking about these stepping stones and what they may be, or could be, or should be. I don't think there's anything that where they should be, because everybody's journey is going to be slightly different or completely different, right? If you're into portraits versus landscape versus, I know a person who does only equestrian photography, right? All our journey will be different, because the person who is doing the equestrian rodeo kind of photography is not probably worried about f16 and f11. They're worried about f28 1.4, let in a lot of light, low light situations, right? So they're going to learn a journey, take a path different than, say, a landscape photographer who likes to shoot everything at f8 or f16, right? Those are way two different paths. Now, will they cross each other at some point? Yes, there are things that will cross paths, other camera settings, so on and so forth. But in the end, it really comes down to, these different paths. So don't sit here and try to say, okay, I'm going to be like a person A and person B and C. It don't work, because then we start putting ourselves against other people, and that's kind of another one. But where we just kind of start to plummet and fade off because we're not like person A, or definitely not like person B, and then we get in our heads, and then we become the imposter syndrome, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you've reached the end of your journey because you were taking the camera and you were dropping it into the garbage can because it's not doing what you want it to do. And that's because we choose to take our path way too quickly. But as I got thinking of all these little stepping stones, right, and how, we want to get there, like, don't say that you're going to get from stone A to B in a year, or, A to B in a week, right? Because things come up in between and you have to put things down for a while, and so on and so forth. So the one first thing I thought is I think every photographer goes through the phases. Everything is great. And I was going to do a slideshow and I actually found some CDs recently of some of my original photos that I ever took that I thought were amazing. The greatest of great. And that's what I mean. Like, we take a photo and it's the greatest of the great photo. Everything's great, right? Nothing sucks, nothing's shitty, nothing. It is what it is, right? We just have that mentality that all of this is going to be, it's the greatest work ever, and we have hit our milestone and we're at the highest level we'll ever be. And we're all allowed to do that. I think that's kind of like key point of motivation, right? I was just listening to a video here a little bit ago from Sean Tucker. If you're not familiar with Sean Tucker, he is a YouTube guy. Does photography YouTube videos, but the reason I like him, he's on a way different path than any other YouTuber, in the sense when it comes to photography. It's not why you should buy the 35 millimeter 1.4 from Fuji, or why you should buy the new Plenta 135 1.8 from Nikon, and sniffing boxes and tests and all that dumb shit, because he focuses more on the philosophical side of photography, and it's actually really good. He's kind of, I would say he's a motivator. He's from, I think, England or London. Started his realm in photography doing work for like product photos, things like that. Don't much matter, but he goes through and he was talking about he was always talking about like taking things to the next level and figuring things out. And he was talking about not comparing yourself to other people, because that's what we have a tendency to do. And it's kind of like with that everything is great mentality where we don't look and say, you know, where have we come from? Because I actually pulled out my high school yearbook today. I was looking for a teacher's name, or I pulled out yesterday, and don't much matter. And looking for it, and I was going through, and I started looking at photos because I had my photos in there, and they were sports photographs, right? And if I go back to that time, I thought those were all great. Now, depending on how I look at it, they still are pretty amazing considering what I was using. I did not have a DSLR. I had a point and shoot Olympus that took XD cards. It did not. I was using flash on a football field. It was only good for like 6 feet away, if that. It was horrible. But if I look back and say, okay, are they horrible? Yes, they are. But technically they're horrible, and compositionally they're horrible. But what they are is they are pretty good when it comes down to the gear I used, right? What I had to deal with. So it was kind of nice to go back through that old work and say, oh, look where I have come from. This is where I was, and this is where I'm at currently. And have to remember that was it recently? There's a TikTok, I don't know, TikTok came across, and it was a guy that does quotes. And he had said, I'm not gonna have this to the T, but 5 years ago you were wishing you were the person you are today, or something like that. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of right? I mean, like 5 years ago, from a business aspect, I didn't think I'd have an office down here. I didn't think I'd be doing lives, and I didn't think I'd be spending, Jesus, I bet you 40 hours to this point of updating my website for classes for next year and trying to make it a streamlined experience for everybody. And what do I come up with? And there's just so many moving parts. I never thought, I mean, I think I had my Squarespace. This would be year number 7 that I've had Squarespace as my host for my website. And I'm horrible. I don't go back and look at analytics and things, and I don't go back like I should and look at things. But then even my Facebook profile, I hit 1,000 followers this year. That's not great for some people, but for me, it took a long time to get there. But then it used to notify me every week and say, Justin, you got 1 new follower, 1 new person. And that, I don't really give a shit about that, to be honest. But I always think of that 1 new person could be another new client, or somebody who wants help, or so on and so forth, right? Or somebody that might pop on a live, or, I'm not there for the aspect of having 100,000 people. I'd rather have 1,000 engaged people than 100,000 people on there. But where I'm trying to get with that is, as I started looking at these things more in depth, because I had a marketing call with a SCORE mentor, and I was like, like, I got to look at this stuff real quick. So I start looking at some of it, and I'm like, I had like 8 new followers. I'm like, oh, because up here, I thought I wasn't where I wanted to be. I'm not where I want to be. I still not where I want to be, because that's me. I'm always trying to figure out something else. But if I look back at it, I'm definitely not where I was 5 years ago. So I have to remember that. And that's what we need to do as photographers, whether it's photographically and business type, whether it's personal life, whatever it is, work crap, we're not where we used to be. But when you start looking back and say 5 years ago, you definitely know you're still there today. Maybe it's time to change something, whether that's taking more classes, or doing a mentoring session, or a workshop, or, just finding a blog post to read and say, I'm going to try that. Or I don't normally do portraits, but I'm going to try today, right? That's a part of this journey that we are on. And then there's kind of that other phase I think we all go through early on in photography, and that's the overwhelmed phase. I'm in that phase right now, not photographically, but businessly. That's not a word, but I'm going to make it up. Because I start something, and then the more I think about it, I realize I have to do, this. And when I do this also includes this, and that. But that's off this branch, and I need to be back over here. So I literally this last week found a software online that builds out like trees, like a link tree, and you can follow it around. And I'm having to put all this stuff, like even today, building out classes. Huh. I was like, okay, this will be easy. I got my page. It wasn't laying out the way I wanted to. I didn't like the looks of it. I contacted Squarespace. Like, unfortunately, you can't change that look. Well, that's stupid. So I had to find another option. Well, then I found another option that would link me outside of the website, but you would never know it by clicking the button. It seems streamlined, but then I'm like, but this can't be, this looks like a good platform. And then I started playing with it, and it wasn't. I think I went through 5 or 6 different platforms today before I found one I was decently happy with. It was quick and easy, right? All that kind of stuff. So then you start getting all these things. So it's very overwhelming, because now what was literally the website itself on a redesign is just on its own is overwhelming. And then I start to have to think about taking that task of the website and saying, okay, where do I start? Let's start at the homepage. Let's get that where I want it to be. Then the navigation, what do I want up there? Then that was another section. And then each one of those navigations is a page. And I have to take this one piece at a time. And that's like with photography. You buy a new camera, you take it one piece at a time. You can't stuff everything that this, thick inch or 6-inch manual has in your head and jam it all in there, right? You have to take it that time and figure out. I don't need to learn everything. I don't need to know how my camera focus stacks. All I need to know is it does focus stack. So when I do get to that point someday, I know it's a feature on my camera. That's as far as you need to scratch the surface on that. And then you come to the point where I need focus stacking. Aha, I remember that I have focus stacking. Now you start digging deeper, and you dig that hole deeper into focus stacking to figure out, what do I need to do to make this work? And then you're like, okay, I've got it figured out, but now how do I get them squished together into one image, right? It's not the camera, it's this device over here in Photoshop, right? Then you start learning that. But if you try to do the camera and then focus stacking, and then trying to learn focus stacking and figure out how to do it in camera, and then you half-ass that, and then you half-ass it in Photoshop, and then when it comes down to when you actually need it, you don't remember any of it. You just wasted your time because you've tried to jam all this information into this infinite amount of space that you don't need to. But it's one of those things that I think we all go through into a phase of we're overwhelmed. And then there's people who are very overwhelmed in the world of photography in general, and then they start to add in the almighty American dollar and decide, how am I going to do this? And that's a whole ball of wax all within its own, right? Because then you have business aspects, and then again we go back to ending our journey because it's just too much. I like to go things at a high rate of speed, but I can't, because when I do that, I end up with literally notebooks full of shit, honestly, of ideas and things. I'm not saying that I won't go, but I've come to learn to tame my brain to a point that if something has been rattling around in there for more than a year or so, it's probably I should do it, kind of like classes. I was going to do it last year, but I tried other things and that didn't work. So it's stuff like that. Let's see, what else do I have? So as we start growing in our journey as creatives, we get through these and we bust through these, starting out in the always learning phase, and we've kind of got that under control, and we've learned what we want to learn, but we're still learning little bits and pieces of information, and now we're out of that overwhelmed phase, right? So the overwhelming phase is done. Well, you'll still have moments of overwhelm and anxiousness about things, but somebody told me one time, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning. That's good, because I come to conclude that when I don't understand something, I have to figure it out, and then I'm learning, right? Then I think you kind of come into the phase of probably at some point, somewhere in your journey, you'll come to the if I buy the best lens or the best piece of kit, then I'll have the best photos, right? I think that's still a pretty early on in your phase where we go through and oh, hey Don, I just saw you pop up there. Is I have the best lens, so therefore I don't need to learn anything, because they told me to buy it because it's a 1.4 and it's good for portraits. And you choose not to learn. You never had an aperture of 1.4, so you don't realize how shallow that depth of field is. And then you go back to that point of, it's just the best of the best. So you get the best of the best photos. It don't work that way. I will tell you, early on, I had that idea that if I had a DSLR over my point and shoot camera when I first started out in high school, that my photos would have been 10 times better. Now that I look back on that, that's a really horrible idea, because there would have been so much more to learn, then I'd be overwhelmed. And it's funny because I don't know, I'm in theory a millennial towards the end of that phase. I don't like that term, but if I look at my journey too on the learning journey and how things come across, when I started, it was still film with the entrance of digital. There was no YouTube. There was no way to learn other than a pile of books that I still have up on that shelf, and more books. I still buy books on occasion. So I felt like I didn't really go over the super overwhelmed phase, because there was not a lot of information out there. There wasn't a specific book you could buy at Barnes and Nobles for your Nikon Z6 II or your Fuji FinePix 6300 or whatever I had. It wasn't. You just got the manual. That's all there was. There was no Fronos photo, not to diss him, but I will, out there telling you that this is the best lens. And then you have the Nikon guy, or the Nikon guy, as he says, because he's from Australia, telling the opposite, right? And then now we're sitting here with a notebook full of crap, and we're, contrasting and pros and cons and matrixing. Sorry, that's a work word. Out everything of what do I do, and this isn't, and then you get overwhelmed, right? We're back to the overwhelmed phase, but it's not always gear, right? And I think at some point too, you get into, I mean, not everybody gets into this one, but I think a lot of people do, especially if you get into it where you start posting on a separate Facebook page or social media page, I should say, of photography stuff, of your photos, is that self-validation. I mean, I posted the photo of the clouds last night. I thought it would get more than it did. Did I feel defeated? Maybe for a split second, because that's human nature. But in the end, I don't care. You'll probably notice a lot of my stuff is a lot different than it normally is lately. It is some older work. Maybe I almost look at maybe I'm going through an identity crisis on the photo side, because I'm going to more fine art stuff, more not more edited or post-processed, but I'm creating more pieces that are more artistic in a sense than pieces that are more realistic in a sense. I'll darken the sky up a little bit. I'll push the colors a little farther, right? Because I feel like that's where I want to be. And that's a good point to get into with your journey, is you are going to evolve over and over and over and over again. Your style will change with time. You may go back to I went through the phase of HDR. I loved HDR, the oversaturated shit and crap, and bleh. Look back, it's barfy as all out gets. But you know what? It is, right? Should I say a phase? But that was a thing at the time, right? We get stuck in those. Everybody's doing HDR, so I'm going to do HDR. And I'm not going to say Tony Sidor, a really good friend from PhotoPro who came in. I saw his HDR stuff, and that's why I did it. But I think along a part of every part of your journey, it's going to be that you shouldn't look at any one part of your journey and say that was a waste of time. Because whether you know it or not, at some point you've learned something somewhere. That equates to connecting all the stepping stones. Even if you went from stepping stone A to B to C to D, and then you go back to A for a little bit, or B a little bit. And, again, it goes back to that squiggly line. That's not a straight line of progress. You are going to have setbacks. You're going to have successes. You're going to have failures. You're going to have utter moments of, this sucks, I'm done. I had one of those recently. not all the time. I've had those plenty of times, right? I mean, I think if you read the description for the event, I think this year is year 23. I've had a camera in my hands, and when I think about that, then my mind says you should be a lot better than you are. That's a long time. But then I got to go back in my journey and remember, if I look back at those pictures that I found on CDs, oh, I wish I don't know what I did with it. I hid it so I wouldn't lose it. Let me see. I should have planned that one better. But it's the very first photo I had. My mom had it still at her house, and I found it, and I was actually kind of excited because I usually have it on my desk. I had it scanned for my book, but for the last page of the book. But for me, I keep that on my desk because I will look at it and remember that 23 years ago, that was, I thought, the best photo ever. And it was also probably my first actual photo I ever took that had intention behind it and a thought process. So you have to remember in your journey where you come from. Don't forget that. But as you go through your journey too, you are going to get to the phase that I like to call is you don't give a shit anymore. Don says that was me the other day when I couldn't get my settings correct, and bad me for comparing myself and photos to other. Yes, exactly. But Don, that's going to happen. I do it. You will do it. Everybody's going to do it because it's human nature. We always have something to strive for. I just don't think we should set other people up as what we should strive to be. So, but back to the I don't give a shit phase. I've had this phase in photography, not for oodles of time, but in life to a point, because I used to worry about what other people thought or think or did of me, and I don't give a shit anymore. I think that just comes with age. But in the photo realm, I don't like go back to the clouds photo. I posted it. I thought it fine. It didn't do well. I don't care. I don't give a shit because I posted it because I like it. If 800 people like it, is that going to make me feel warm and fuzzy inside? Definitely. Why not? But if nothing comes of those 800 likes, what's the point? It's 800 emojis of hearts, little huggy thing, face hugging a heart on Facebook, wow emojis, maybe angry emojis. I don't know, right? Emojis don't pay my bills. They don't do anything for me other than give me that shot of dopamine that we all need. But if I post that cloud photo and it gets 5 likes, right? Or 18, I think now, right? Or whatever it last was. Is that good? Fine, it is. But I didn't get 800. But of those 18, somebody might look at that and say, I want a 30 by 40 print of that on my wall. That's the real winner. So I just post to post shit at this point. One, because I kind of feel obligated that I have to keep up with a certain type of social media schedule so I don't fall off at the end of the planet on people's feeds. But I don't give a shit. Do I want a Nikon Z9? Yes, I'd love it. I actually want a Z8 more. Do I need it? Probably not. What's it going to do for me? It's going to give me a shot of dopamine that I want, and then after it's done, it wears off, right? I was looking for a shot of dopamine this week I was looking for a macro lens that I probably don't need, but it's something I want to try. So I might rent it because it's dirt cheap to rent it for a month and then see if I want it, right? So it's stuff like that. But the I don't give a shit phase is what I call that. Is there's a point where the guy on YouTube was saying, you get to a point where you decide nothing else matters but getting better and pushing yourself. That's the I don't give a shit phase. It's almost like an experimental phase for me. You've seen a lot more black and white out of me. You've seen a lot more, a lot less, I wouldn't say Midwesterny images, but a lot less landscape. You've seen a few architectural photos from me lately, way out of the realm. But again, kind of going back to that, point where I made that it only takes one person of something. Like I was in the phase of, I don't know why I have a website and I spend $30 a month on it, because at this point, what good does it do me? I was literally in the middle of this thinking phase and I checked my email, and I had a marketing company out of Cedar Falls reach out and say, we saw your food photography on your website, which is funny because there's not a lot of it on there. Would you send us a quote for a bakery and we'll put it in our proposal and blah, blah, blah. Well, then it got me thinking, right? Those photos brought in some form of business. Somebody saw something. So therefore I have now a contact that even if they don't do business, I have a plan for that contact now, right? I can reach out. Now I know somebody, right? I have the dreaded email that no one wants to give. I have it now because they reached out to me. So I was just going to give up on the website thing because there's no point in it, right? So, and it's kind of funny because I will get to the point where I always say I'm one that runs, or I think anybody should be. When most people are running from the fire, I run towards it. And another good example of that in anybody's journey is you can't let other people, in a sense, get you down based on your journey at what point. I met with the guy this week and through SCORE and was trying to talk marketing because I understand it enough because I did it at Photo Pro, but I don't have the marketing dollars like we did at Photo Pro, right? So I don't know when I overthink to the point where I don't spend a penny on marketing because cash is king, but it's also scarce at the moment, to be honest. So I'm just very, it's like business. You don't want to drop $1 million on something just to do it, right? So I always think about what can I do? So we were talking, and he pretty much said several times to me, I think what you're trying to do, I don't think there's a market for it. And we were talking about classes. And I'm like, well, that's not what I hear from people. I hear people, I want classes, or I want this and I want that. So he's trying, I'm not saying he was purposely getting me down. He was thinking probably from a more business mindset where I was more of a 1% business mindset, 99% dreamer thing. But I told him they're there. We just have to find them. And he couldn't tell me how to do that. So he's going to talk to some colleagues, right? I haven't heard back. That was kind of like I was in the middle of this website process of classes today and was super frustrated. And I just left and took a nap and was just like, why am I doing this? He says, I don't have this, plan in a sense where people want what I offer. But I don't believe that. So I'm going to keep running towards the fire. But you can't let other people get you down, especially the world of social media. That's a part of your journey that you're going to have to contend with. Sorry, my phone's ringing. That never happens. But then it gets to a point where then we get wrapped up into the imposter syndrome, which I've talked about 1.5 million times here, and things just kind of go, right, disappear. So then you kind of there's all these different things you're going to go through. And I've already kind of talked, my last one was about kind of how far you've come. I already talked about that, but I think in the end, you have to do this journey for yourself, not for anybody else. Sometimes you have to do parts of it for other people, whether you want to or not. I have 5 on here tonight. I was hoping to have 12, right? Maybe it was an interesting subject. I don't know. I don't care, right? Back to I don't give a crap face. But I just have to remember, but I do what I do because I'd rather have me figure out the struggles than you guys have to figure out the struggles. But it comes down to that point where you're going to struggle. You're going to have all these things, but eventually you'll get somewhere. That's all you have to figure out. And sometimes it's even to the point I've gotten recently. I'm like, what do I do in this office that I spend literally from the time I get up at 8 in the morning, I get up, I eat breakfast, take the kid to school at 8:30, and from about 9 to 1:30, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's what I do. And then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on my day off, I'm down here most of the day, just plugging away and thinking of things and making this place an utter mess that I've cleaned up 6 times in the last week. For some dumb reason, I must have some form of hope left somewhere because I keep coming down here to do it. And I've thought about just saying, well, why don't I just give up all this business stuff and just go back to taking photos for fun? I'm not saying I don't do it for fun anymore, but that's where like projects come in and some things I want to do this winter. But probably everybody's probably enough of hearing about me. It's been about 30 minutes anyway, but let's talk about some stuff coming up. So we've all heard about my book. It's coming out the 27th of this month, but my first book signing will be down at, I always want to say New Bow Books, but it's not. It's Next Page Books on December 2nd. I think it's 10 to 2, but I have an event on Facebook. The other thing I'll be posting here soon is the web redesign. Pamela says, I have a sign in my office that says photography, a love affair with life. I think that describes most of us and why we do what we do. Yes, exactly. I love that. I'll post the thing here hopefully the next 5 or 6 days about the web design. You can go out and look at it. But I've got classes planned for next year, not all of them, but some. That's a work in progress, but I will have something out for January for sure. Oh God, how did I forget about this? My first ever photo workshop. This is going to be a big one. This is the big all or nothing leap of faith that I'm going to jump off a cliff on. I will post something about it this coming week. I won't say just yet. Price isn't figured out, but my goal for this workshop is to be as cheap as possible, because I'm not here to be a millionaire. So most people in the world can attend to a point, but it will require 4 hours of traveling to and from location. That's all I'm going to say. And it's in Missouri. That's all I'm going to say. It's a place that's been on my list. I know it's on other photographers' lists. Been emailing lots back and forth, but it's super unique. I think it's unique enough of a location that it's something we don't have around here that we can see and photograph. And as I was reading up on how to do photo workshops, I would say it should be unique. And I think this is a pretty unique location. Not unique to the photography world in a sense of like we're the only photographers that have ever been there. No, trust me, a million people have been there, but I think it's going to be different. If you want to like get out of your normal box and realm of photography, this will do it. So that's all I'm going to say for now. But I will post once it's live. I will have a link. Well, I'll have a thing you can click that will put you to a special list. So when I do have everything tied down, it will be, you'll get an email from me. I'm also going to post a link. I think maybe it's today. Maybe it's today. I don't know. Maybe it is tonight. Probably explains a thought I just had a little bit ago. And how did these people get this link? But it don't much matter. I am going to start doing an email list, a bi-monthly email, maybe a few more, but it'll be at least twice a month at minimum. I'm only going to try to do 2 because nobody wants more shit in their inbox. But it's just going to be kind of like what's coming up and things like that. And classes, like I'll put on there. So I'll email people about classes that are coming up. And that's a first, literally barely scratch the surface of my marketing, right? That I need to do. But I just need to find a way that I know a lot of you guys are interested in doing things, but Facebook doesn't allow you guys to always see it. And that's what pisses me off. I don't feel like you or I should have to spend money to Facebook to get to see things. So the email list is going to allow you to be in the loop per se. And when you're in the loop, I will try to extend some slight discounts here and there for the people who do choose to give me my email, especially for some classes when we launch. I don't know if I probably won't discount the workshop only due to the fact that I have a number in my head I want to be at. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to throw a question out here to the 5 people that I haven't run off. So if you were going to do a photo workshop and you were traveling, obviously it's going to be an overnight deal. It's going to be a 1 day workshop. In theory, it's planned out for 3 days. So day one is you just come when you get there, and I'll have an event for the first night. Then the second day will be 5 hours of photo shooting at the location, and I will have places set up for like an event after that day. We will edit. You can bring your laptop, but I will bring mine, and I'm trying to find a room. That's the kicker down there. No one's responding to my emails. And then in March, I'm going to do a photo expedition check-in and look at the place myself first too. But so if you had a 3-day workshop, 1 full day of actually doing things, the first day is leisurely travel to location for yourself and leisurely travel home. I don't want to jam pack all 3 days, but in the evening and maybe on the first day, obviously I would have a place for dinner. And the third day would be maybe a place for breakfast, if anything, but kind of like a bon voyage, kind of adios amigos kind of thing. But in this workshop, I said, I've repeated myself a million times. Sorry, I'm thinking this out, is you have the 3 days, but the second day is the full day, right? We'll go find places we'll photograph the place. We'll come back. I don't want it to just be for you guys to say, oh, I went and took photos. But if you guys had laptops, you could bring your laptop, and I will just throw up some of my photos that I like real quick. I'll edit them, show you how I edit. And then I want to be there for you guys to say, hey, I've got Lightroom. I can't get this shit to work. What do I need to do? Hands-on learning on the editing side. And the same with the photo day. We'll all be taking photos, and you're like, I can't get this, and what's going wrong? I can be there to help. That's the whole point of a photo workshop. But long-winded breath, I'm sorry, I'm tired, so I keep going on, would you prefer the price of a workshop to have everything minus food, so lodging and workshop fee, per se, if that's what you want to call it, together? Or would you prefer to pay for the workshop part and then you find your own lodging? I want to do both. Because for me, I am picky as hell when it comes to hotels. I have no problem spending $180 a night on a hotel that I like, but I know not everybody is that way. Some people like budget in. That's fine. I do too on occasion. So I'd hate to say, okay, well, I can't afford 2 nights in a hotel, and I think that would really drive the cost up, but everything's included minus food. So one thing I do want to do is kind of create this workshop for the people who go. I have to have, here's the kicker, I have to, their requirement, not mine, a minimum of 4 people to do it. So hopefully I can get 4. If I get 4, I'll be flipping ecstatic, because this is a big jump for me. Skill level. No, oh God, no, Pamela, no. This is for anybody. Skill level is I'm going to try to plan workshops. I hate workshops that say you got to be an advanced user. What's the point of that? So I want advanced users. I want entry-level users. I want people who can barely turn their camera on. I want people who know how to run their camera with the lights off, because it's for everybody. But don't include food. No, I wouldn't include the food, because that would get it super expensive. But then at the same time, we'll probably find a restaurant as a group to go to, and everybody can order what they want. But the biggest thing is lodging. I don't know if you guys would want lodging included in it or not, or have an option. That just popped up in my head, is an option where you could do it. Paul said you would prefer lodging and a workshop together, food separate. I might figure that out to where I think I could do this. I know I can do it with my ticket process, is I could do one where you pay just for the workshop, no hotel. And then one with hotel. I think we'll do that. Then I just answered my question. Why did I ask you guys, right? But I'm just hoping we can get 4 people, because I think it's going to be super cool. Oh, that's a good point. Yes, it's warm weather. God, I hate cold. Yeah, it's actually, so I should have told you a date. It's September of 2024. So there's plenty of time for you once we find out here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, what the price is going to be. Um, yes, lodging and workshop together so we can meet afterwards. I love that, Rick. So um, that's what I'm thinking too, because I want this to almost be like a retreat. Like, I don't want, like, just because we're done photographing, that everybody's going to go to their room and sit there. If we want to sit around for 8 hours straight and talk photography, then that's what the hell we're going to do. I want it to kind of be like a retreat, and then everybody can kind of like talk to each other and figure things out, because I think I have such a wide variety of people who kind of follow me in a sense for things they want to do and they like to do, that it could totally be a whirlwind. So this will probably be the biggest of big workshops for the year, but there will be local ones that will be a lot less. So I'm not gonna, this is, don't expect, when I say photo workshop, we all think $2, $3, $4,000. It's not that, not at all. I probably would way undercharge for what it should be, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. Oh, yes. So Corey said he thinks that the lodging in the workshop. Oh, the only other kicker with this workshop is it has to be during the week, unfortunately, because they only do these private groups allowing us to come in on certain days of the week. So it worked out for my days off. I don't have to take one day off. That's, I would take a week off if I had to for you guys, if I had the time. But it's just weird. I tried and I didn't. I tried lots of things with them and they just said no. So I just took what I could get. So long story short, the workshop's coming. I put it out for all the way out to September because, one, it would be warmer, because I'm pretty sure this place is not too terribly heated. It is indoors, I will say that. So weather isn't going to much matter. What else do I want to say? I don't remember. Something fleeting thought. But I think it'll be super cool. But I will get it posted. I won't have like an actual itinerary yet, but I put it out to September. So if you feel like you need to go out and pick up pop cans for the next 8 or 9 months to do it, then that's fine. So I'm okay, because I'm going to have to collect my pop cans as well. So, but like I said, I'm not here to make $1 million off everybody and live in the Bahamas 11 months out of the year. It'll be indoor photography, Pamela. So tripods and all that stuff, low light. I don't want to give it away quite yet. So it'll be a challenge, I think, photographically, technically, compositionally, thought process. So yeah. And the other thing I thought about doing this year is a thing called office hours. I know a lot of people don't really get into the groove of the private mentoring thing because it is a little pricey at $65 an hour. But I thought about doing a thing where you can sign up for a 15-minute time, say on Wednesday evenings I'll be there for an hour or two, and you can go and schedule a time, and it's like $20 or $15. I don't know, just throwing out a number. And then you'll have a Zoom link. And I won't let you in until I'm done with the previous person. That's what I'm hoping, is I'm back to back busy with it. But I'm just trying to find other ways for people to get the information they want at a more cost effective price point. So I could go on all night long about what I want to do. But that's why I always ask you guys, is I do it for you guys. So as we wrap up, I thank you guys always. If you do want to support the show, somewhere up there, I think, is a little code you can do. Don't feel obligated, but you can if you'd like. Hopefully I'll see you at some classes, workshop or shops in plural this year. But if you ever have ideas, shoot me ideas. So I'm always, one quick note on classes. If I have one sign up, only one, the class is still going to be a go, because I'm not going to say Pamela gets all excited to learn about ICM photography and she signs up and I have to email her and say, I'm sorry, Pamela, I require 5 and 4 didn't sign up, so you're out. Here's a refund. That's stupid. I know that's a waste of time for a lot of people who teach, but not for me, because then you're shorting one person on the face of the planet with that information they really want. So why punish one person or two people or even four people because other people didn't want to sign up? So I think that's dumb. But again, always thank you guys for showing up. The reason I ask you guys the questions is because a lot of you are consistent watchers. And if you weren't here all the time, then I totally wouldn't, think of anything and do what I do, I guess. So you are welcome, Pamela and Corey, as always. So I don't even know what time it is. Almost 9 o'clock. And I was looking at a watch that's not there. Wow, it's been a week and a half. But yeah, so I will close down shop here in a minute, and I'm going to head back to working on some more photo stuff so I can get it out to you guys a little quicker. But if you do have ideas for classes, workshops, I don't even care. Some off-the-wall idea. Photo walks will be a thing this year too, hopefully. Let me know. Justin at tedfordphoto.com. Message me on Facebook. If you have my cell phone, text me. I don't care. So, well, I will be done blabbering. I thought I wasn't going to have enough time, but I should know. And hopefully I'll see everybody on December 2nd at the book signing. Hopefully my books come soon. I'm always nervous. My book will be available on the website. I'm building that out too. So I'm done talking. I'm probably surprised I haven't put half of you asleep yet. So as always, thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to seeing you all guys for the rest of the year and the coming year, and we will go from there. And like I said, you got questions, concerns, comments, ideas, shoot them my way. So you guys have a wonderful evening.